All right. So, hi, good morning, guys. Happy morning. It is actually afternoon. I need to get out of the habit of saying good morning to people. My show starts at noon now. This is day 2 of the Nikki Medoro Show live on YouTube. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has reached out, who has been checking out my new website, theNikkiMedoroShow.com. There you find links to the YouTube channel, our Patreon, which we have up and running. And thank you for everyone who has been so generous so far. That takes a lot of money. We're doing it on our own, just flying by the seat of our pants. And the show will grow. And with it, hopefully, not only the amount of money we bring in, but of course, all of you being able to participate and get the technology up to make phone calls. But for right now, we're doing it on our own. And I'm very excited to welcome someone to my show for the very first time. It's my show and my dear friend, Chip Franklin. Hey,
Oh,
bud.
yeah.
Hi. So many people, Chip. I just have to let you know. I've been dying to see your face next to my face since.
That's a sad stat right there.
No, it is not.
It's great to be here. You sound great. It's fun. And I love the Patreon. Everyone should contribute. And as this thing grows, I think that, hell, everybody heard you. How many years were you doing the morning show? 2, 3?
A little more than 2 years. But yeah, I mean, it's a new day. It's a new way of doing things. I want to give you a big thank you and props for my new show Open that I just played for everyone.
I love that song up front.
Chip Franklin. Yeah, that was awesome. But let's get into it because I know you're a very, very busy man. And there are a ton of things happening in politics right now. But yesterday, I'm on Twitter. And everyone is sharing this new ad that came out from Congressman Eric Swalwell, who I adore. Like, he gives 0 Fs. Like, he kind of has that antagonistic style, which I wish more Democrats would have. But I'm going to play this ad that he has released. Now, I'm not quite sure if it's necessarily on television or where it's exactly, or if it's just on social media. Oh, hold on. I'm learning this on my own. Let me share my screen with everybody so you can all see it. And this is, I think, what Eric Swalwell wants to show that America could someday look like. Because if we're not careful and we don't get out the vote and we don't do what needs to be done, this is what could
it's
happen.
Scary as hell. It's frightening as hell.
Exactly. All right. So here it is. This is the ad again from Eric Swalwell that's going out right now.
You're weird. He is weird, but cute.
A family sitting around the dinner table.
That's
Mom
how
and
I
Dad
used
show my
to
love.
feed Nikki like that at lunch.
Shut it.
Mary Anderson,
Yes.
I have a warrant for your arrest.
Arrest for what?
Penal Code 243 violation. Unlawful termination of a pregnancy.
You gotta be kidding me.
That is my personal business.
That's for the courts to decide, ma'am. Your medical records have been subpoenaed and Dr. Landry's already in custody.
No, my God, you can't just.
You will have to submit to a physical examination.
What? By who?
No one's touching me.
Ma'am, turn around. Put your hands behind your back. Now.
Why is this happening? Love you, honey bear.
We're just enforcing the law here.
Elections have consequences. Vote Democrat on November 8th. Stop Republicans from criminalizing abortion everywhere. Protect women's rights and freedom.
Please don't do this. Please.
That's quite the ad.
That's pretty spooky.
There's a lot going on in that ad, though, that I kind of want to get into it with you. Because on one hand, there's the question of, Swalwell's just using scare tactics, right? He's just trying to scare people. But let's just scratch one layer under the surface. If you are going to criminalize abortions, it is against the law, and something like this could happen. It's not as if it's hard to believe that if you're going to have neighbor turning on neighbor and turning on doctors, that at some point there's going to be a knock at that door and someone will get arrested. And that's what blows my mind of people who don't believe that something like this is going to be a deciding factor for voters. But apparently, according to a lot of the polling, I understand it's the economy, stupid, but this is frightening. Absolutely frightening.
There's a couple things going on there, and more than likely, it would not be upper middle class people that are arrested for having abortions. You'll still be able to get abortions. I hate to say how old I am, but I was actually alive before Roe v. Wade. And I had it when I was 12, my 12-year-old friend got a 12-year-old girl pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Went to Canada. They botched it. She almost died and never could have kids again. Right.
Oh,
but I do recall they had to leave the country. She had to take her child, the mom, to Canada, to I think Toronto, to get the abortion. And it's back to that place now. I mean, in Mississippi, and this is something I got Snopes after me for. I saw an article where a guy had talked about, they'll do anything to prevent women from leaving the state, to get an abortion. So I called their office, and the guy talked to me on the phone. He was, it's like he's a state assemblyman in Mississippi, which means he graduated 6th grade. And so he says to me that we would even use dogs at the airport because dogs can smell pregnant women. And I don't know if that's true, but they can smell COVID, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Right. So it's possible. But, and so I put that on a tweet, and no one could believe me. I mean, Snopes came after me, Newsweek came after me, and I gave him the guy's name, and he wouldn't talk to them. And so they put down that we couldn't verify it. But look, I mean, first of all, the fact that Ginny Thomas has such influence on that court, not right. I mean, and this is a woman who says the election was stolen.
She has the justice's ear and
believes in the death penalty, believes in the death penalty for women and doctors who perform abortions. Yeah, I mean, that to me, it is frightening. The kid's crying is the one that gets every parent, right? When a kid goes,
I know.
Like,
well,
right?
And you don't want that to happen. But the other thing that was so smart about this ad is it shows a mom being arrested for having an abortion, because the truth of the matter is the biggest category of women who have abortions are women who already have children. So it's not as if they're using it for birth control or something like that. The truth of the matter is these are moms with families that could be stripped away from their families because of making a health decision.
Like my wife, Wendy, she got pregnant with our second kid. And hi, Kimmy.
Hi, Kim.
And her second kid, our Alex, Wendy got preeclampsia, which you're only supposed to get with your first kid, right? It's
I didn't know that.
Preeclampsia is your body's basically rejecting the child because of the father's sperm and blood in your body, right? But normally, the first kid, it doesn't happen with the second kid. When it happened with the second kid, they kept asking me, they go, "Are you the father? Are you sure the father?" I'm like, "Thanks a lot." But the point is that
it's awful.
I know, but the point is that so. I got a vasectomy right after that because if she got pregnant again, she could die if she didn't get an abortion, So anyway, I guess to your point that, will we go this far down the rabbit hole? I don't think Republicans want it. I do think the MAGA and the Q people do, because it's such a great selling point to say the Democrats kill babies.
Well,
While they cut funding for inner city programs and lunches and education, the things that really kill people. They deny birth control. The irony of that, of course, is that they won't fund birth control in the very areas that have the highest incidences of abortion. People are still going to get abortions.
Exactly.
Newsflash,
exactly.
They're going to get abortions,
Well, today's also October 18th, which I always do these like National Day things. Apparently, it is Pro-Life Day of Silent Solidarity. And they say, representing the 3,000 voices taken by abortion every day, these students choose to take a vow of silence. So now on one hand,
great.
Thank you for stop talking. Yeah, right. And on the other hand, it's like, where's my voice? Where's my voice as a woman? Why all of a sudden does a fetus have a louder voice than I do, the living, breathing, tax-paying human being that is literally here and screaming that I want control over my own body? Why is my voice being silenced for that of a fetus? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't.
You can get and a fetus could get an agent and then get Tucker Carlson show. That would be awesome.
He is a fetus. Jesus,
here's a Tucker Carlson show. don't hear a thing. Anyway.
I don't know the hypocrisy though, Chip. It drives me nuts. I mean, the Herschel Walker story. So if everyone doesn't know, people have been coming forward. Women have come forward. He paid for my abortion. A woman had a receipt, which it's like the blue dress. You wonder why they save these things, but whatever. He acknowledges now, Herschel Walker does, sending a $700 check to a woman who says he paid for her abortion. But now before I didn't remember the money. Now he says, oh, I remember the money, but I didn't know it was for an abortion. Now, we all know he's lying. Everybody knows he's lying. But do you think it matters anymore? And I bring this up in the conversation of abortions because they make it, these pro-life GOP people, make it like this fundamental, oh my God, you're silencing all these voices. And yet, why are you not calling out Herschel Walker? Not as if there's anything wrong for paying for an abortion, but own up to it. Own up to the hypocrisy.
Well, I mean, the Christian right, they will acknowledge, Trump and people like Herschel Walker's shortcomings, vast shortcomings, because they feel it's, on the path. It's the same people when I was a kid in Catholic schools, and I would say, wait, let me get this straight. So God can pretty much do anything, but he would let them kill his son. And then, I remember as a kid, I was like, well, wait, childhood cancer. Why is there, me, I'll go down that path.
I know.
But that's a big part of this. This is part of the reasoning that the evangelicals have about accepting people in who can, even though they work against their very own interests about, pro-life and whatever, that they'll allow them in because they know that they can get judges, they can get, congressional, action or executive action in the case of somebody like Trump. So they'll do it. They will contradict their most core values in order to get a pragmatic change, which is, you got to at least admire that they're honest, that if they back Herschel Walker, who is the biggest train wreck in the world. He held a knife to a woman's throat, held a gun to a woman's head. He is admittedly, abused both his, the women he was married or in relationships with and children. It's a train wreck.
But it doesn't matter because as long as they have that vote, right, then they could bet whatever legislation they want passed. But if the people there are just
by the way,
full of it, then why vote them in?
He's running against an ordained minister.
I know, Warnock.
So,
and I mean, just having them side by side on that debate stage. I don't know if you caught any of that debate.
I did. I saw it.
It's such a clear difference between those two men.
Well, my favorite was Barnes versus Johnson. Oh my God. Ron Johnson looks like somebody that fell down the stairs 4 or 5 times when he was young. And I mean, his ability to reason and find logic in a statement is incomprehensibly bad. He's just hard. But so I look at all these people and to me, Walker though was the one. I mean, Walker and Fetterman, I love Fetterman that he just shows up in what do you call the pullovers? Yeah, right. Whatever.
A hoodie. Yeah.
Hoodies. Yeah. And he just has a solid message. And Oz, of course, is a train wreck. So the Republicans have shown that, they
want puppets. They want puppets in there that they can control.
I'm not even sure. I mean, you look at the people that run the Republican Party right now, and essentially, back to your point about abortion, they just want to win at all costs. They will violate any principles or tenets that they've established, to try to get to win. So they've told their people now, it doesn't matter what we have to do to win. We got to win.
Exactly.
Which is everybody's capable of that. Democrats too. They did it with Clinton in the late 90s. Everybody knew what a piece of Clinton was. But women, his popularity with women went up after Monica Lewinsky. Right. So, I mean, we're capable of it, although I would say that's a very pale comparison to what's happening now. Yeah,
absolutely.
I
don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm scared about what's going to happen in 2022, let alone 2024. I like Swalwell's ad. I think that being that aggressive with it and calling it out and showing people what the reality could soon be, unless there's more Texas or Kansas is out there. It hits the right notes for me. I want to see more aggression from the Democratic Party because if not, they're just going to walk all over us, Chip. And
there
that
were
just
good numbers
me.
out yesterday. They were. It wasn't about particular candidates running, but overall, 48% showed a leaning towards Democrats over 45 for Republicans. That's not a closed door. I mean, I heard it on MSNBC, and I'm like rolling my eyes, but it's all I watch. But nonetheless, I understand I mean, I watch Fox occasionally, like, if my foot really
Can't
hurts, I
do
watch
it. I
Fox,
just
and then it
can't do
doesn't hurt as much anymore because my head hurts, so it kind of works like that. But anyway,
Um,
no, I do think that, with the short period of time here, again, people have to keep talking to other people and making sure other people vote. And the states in California where, we always assume, I think Newsom can do things here in this state to show the rest of the country as we work up to 2024. And I still believe he's going to run for the presidency.
Oh no! Let's
I
put
do.
money on it. Not in 2024. No,
I think he is. I really do. I think
You
you'll
do?
see it. Yeah.
All
I think he will.
right.
Well, tell me else. Who's going to replace Biden?
I don't know. I mean, I was just reading an article about Buttigieg is so much more popular than Harris, and I don't know.
This is America, though, Nikki. Come on.
I don't think that they are going to elect Newsom right now. I don't see it. But I could be wrong. We'll
We live in
see.
California. I mean,
Exactly.
right. So I mean, in the same, I think you look at people like Newsom, and I think he's figured it out. One thing I like about Newsom, and I always have, is that hang on a second, it's Steve Moskowitz.
I know
Steve,
you have to go.
I'm on Nikki's show right now.
He's supposed to be on my show. What are you talking about?
And I'm just getting off the show right now. But I'm going to put you on speaker. Say hi to everybody real quick.
We're going to get him on in a second.
He's coming on in a second.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. I know she just said that. This is great. This is good radio. Let me get off. I'm going to call you right back, Steve. Okay.
All right. Chip
Thanks.
Franklin, everybody. Chip, you have to come back. You have to be a regular on my show because people love you.
Well, I do have. I got a great podcast today.
Good.
I'm doing a podcast. It's I'm starting it in January. It's about women on death row.
Oh,
and it's a deep dive into, we have everybody from people that have witnessed it to women that have been on death row and to people that have gone through an entire life in prison. It's all about women and how the system treats them differently. And what's it like for when a woman goes into jail for the first day in a supermax and something like that too. So interesting.
Well, the busiest man that I know ever. I really appreciate it, friend. You're going to come back on. We'll have more conversations.
Kill him. Go kill
Chip Franklin, everybody.
Bye.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you later. So, and Kim McAllister, of course, is here as well. Good morning, Kim. Do we have her? Oh, she's somewhere around here. I don't know. Something happened with her microphone. Steve Moskowitz there with Chip. Again, he is the exclusive sponsor of the Nikki Medoro Show. A big thank you to Steve. He'll be joining us later this morning, obviously, when he gets off the phone call with Chip Franklin. Thanks again, everybody that has been subscribing. Please, right now, can you hit that like button? Just do it really, really quickly. It really helps expand the exposure for our show. Go to my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. And there you can find all the links to our YouTube channels. All of our YouTube shows on this channel. And of course, our Patreon. It's just me and Kim. And we're doing it all. But we do hope to grow the show. That's going to take money. I'd love to have a producer. That's going to take some more money. Love to get phone calls and the technology up. So all of that takes a little bit of money. And so for everybody that donated to our show so far, thank you. Thank you. I am actually overwhelmed by the amount of support that we have been getting. And again, any help that you can give us, even just a couple of bucks, really, really helps. We also... while we wait for Kim to get on the horn over here, I have my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com, and an email, thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com. For right now, here's Kimmy. Let's add Kimmy to the show. There she is. Look at that face.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you before. It's okay.
Weird. And I wanted to tell
show.
you about, and I don't know if we've moved on for the conversation, but I was trying to tell you about, some information I was reading today about the recession and the economy. The CEO of Goldman Sachs says that a recession is on the way and inflation is affecting everybody. And so it's the Republicans pitting inflation against the Democrats talking about abortion. Abortion versus inflation. And I worry about it because, abortion is kind of the hill that I'm ready to die on. That issue is my key issue. It's how I'm going to vote.
Body autonomy is huge. I mean, that is literally base one.
But abortion doesn't, I could make the argument that the abortion issue affects everyone. But for right now, I know inflation is affecting affecting everyone
Yeah.
on a daily basis. So I'm worried that the Republicans really do have a leg to stand on with this, and that their argument is going to hold water.
Well, when you're talking about people's wallets, right? I mean, something they pull out every day. When you pull out that card, when you check your bank account, it's really hard for people to be like, oh, yeah. And by the way, you can be arrested for having an abortion. You could be arrested for making a decision about your body. Now, on one hand, one might say, like, it's not going to happen. Right. On the other hand, it's like, no, my bank account is draining every single day because I'm paying so much more at the grocery store, at the gas station. Although I will say, Kim, I drove by a gas station today, and I know I'm going to say the amount, and it's still so high. $5.39 though. That was pretty good.
That is way less than I paid. I rolled up to a gas station in Petaluma yesterday. They wanted $6.89.
No way. I keep driving.
We put in $10 and it didn't even make a dent, because I wanted to put in enough to get me to the next gas station where I could actually pay
less.
And the bridge in the middle of town is closed, so I had to drive all the way across town. I know, big problems for me, right? I drive all the way across town to get to another gas station, and the lowest I could find was $6.19. So
really,
you're doing pretty well
in our
in the
neck of
South
the woods.
Bay. Yeah.
Now I will say this: I think it was $5.39 for cash, and then $5.49 if you pay with your card, which pretty
Still,
much everybody
okay.
does. But hell yeah, I am not paying anything in the six. I will keep going. Now I did want to say real quickly, because we talk about a lot on the show, and before I got you on, I had a listener reach out to me because we obviously, with this new launching of our show and Mark Thompson's show, and I know for a lot of you this is different, right? But then it's the whole conversation of trying to start something new at this point in our lives. And, we're going to tell you when we find out what's Pat Thurston's plan, possibly John Rothman as well. And the question is, how much harder it becomes the older you get. And so I had a listener reach out, and she says, what about the ageism in the workplace as you're trying to start something new or start a new career? And she had a great story to tell. And so I was like, join us on Friday and come on the show. And this is a new way that we can have listeners participate. Now, I'm going to have to screen you as I did with this listener that called. So if any of you want to either be on the show, have something to say, even if it's just a voice memo, you'll see it right at the bottom right there. Email me at the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. You can send a voice memo, which is it's all on your phone. You don't have to download a new app. You just kind of record your message. I can edit them together, and we can kind of have like a caller segment of the show. So we can kind of bring a taste of your voices back to the show. And then if you have a personal story about something we're talking about or something we haven't talked about that you think we should be, reach out to me there. You can send me an email. We can kind of figure it out. And then I can send you a link, and you can see your face right here on the Nikki Medoro Show in a future segment. So that is what I'm willing to do. I really hope.
I love that.
I think that's going to be great. And we can see people. And if you don't want your picture to be seen, you can just do it by audio. It's no pressure, although I'd love to see our listeners' faces. But I like this idea of kind of interacting with you in this whole new way. So again, let me put it up there real quickly. The Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. Send voice memos, send emails to that email, and we'll get you on the show. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Now, Kim, when I was prepping for the show yesterday, you sent me this interview that I was already planning on talking about. And this was between CNN's Dana Bash and Carrie Lake. And this was on the State of the Union on CNN. And I want to get the sound up really quickly, because Carrie Lake, again, is running for governor of Arizona. And the questioning from Dana Bash was quite telling. She was really trying to hold Carrie Lake's feet to the fire regarding election fraud. And she was showing clips of Trump officials that were airing during the hearings, basically saying very clearly, repeatedly, that there was no evidence of what they were claiming. And every single time that, Dana Bash was asking Carrie Lake, again, running for governor in Arizona, why do you keep talking about election fraud? Carrie Lake pivoted, right? She brought up the ballots in Arizona, they were short ballots, which again was real. If you don't know what happened, this is in Pinal County, Arizona. It's one of the I think it's the third biggest county in Arizona. They ran out of ballots. Okay. So it's true. Kari Lake is not lying about this. But the county attorney, who is, by the way, a Republican, was trying to explain what happened. And this is what he said. He says, there's a simple explanation: human error. He says, this left some people stranded and not able to vote. He says, this guy is Kent Volkmer. He says, we just didn't order enough ballots. It's always a guess. And we didn't guess on the side of making sure we had plenty of ballots. And that's the mistake that the county made. Now, he estimates hundreds of voters were affected. About 2.5% of the county's various ballot styles were impacted by the shortage. And the county printed about 900 different styles of ballots for the primary. So on one hand, pardon me, Kari Lake's right? I mean, this did happen under Hobbs, and she should be held accountable. Hobbs did apologize. But then there was this point that you, Kim, were pointing out to me. And this was whether or not Kari Lake would accept the terms of the election. And, of course you want to be optimistic. But it seems to me that they are going to take a page from former President Trump on, if I lose, I'm not going to believe the results. And if I win, of course, I will. So I want to show you this bit of an exchange.
I mean, I'm mortified because they're making it normal now to say the only thing that is acceptable to me is if the outcome of the election swings my direction. No. Exactly. What you're telling me is that the will of the voters, the will of the people, is not important to you. And I'm not okay with it.
All right, let's listen to this exchange. And again, this is Kari Lake. She is running for the governor of Arizona, talking with Dana Bash.
Will you accept the results of your election in November?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
If you lose, will you accept that?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result, because the people of Arizona will never support and vote for a coward like Katie Hobbs, who won't show up on a debate stage. She's single-handedly destroying a 20-year tradition of gubernatorial debates because of her cowardice.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there because we're coming up. We're coming up on the bottom, and so we're going to have some news from Kim. But as we go to the bottom, I want to ask this question, and it's simple, and it's about the debate, because it's true. Hobbs refuses to debate Kari Lake. She does. So do you think it's a smart move for her not to do that? Because Kim has strong opinions about that. I kind of am on the other side, thinking this is giving Lake a lot of ammunition. But you tell me, we have the live chat up, and after the news, we'll read some of your comments. Do you think, if you believe that a debate is just going to go off the rails and this person's just going to spew lies, that you shouldn't debate them? Or is there a way to prepare for that debate so they don't have the ammunition to say, look, you're a coward? So give us the comments in the live chat. But right now, before we get to news, we need to say hello to our very good friend and exclusive sponsor of the Nikki Medoro Show. And that, of course, is Steve Moskowitz. Steve, we appreciate you being the #1 fan of the show, our sponsor, because you have been helping people in the Bay Area in California for years with their tax problems. And I know a deadline just passed yesterday. I'm sure your phone was ringing off the hook.
That's the way it is in the tax world, and I'm here to help people. And one of the things I want to help them with is ERC, Employee Retention Credit. Nikki, this is a fabulous program where the federal government is giving away, it's not a loan, it's a grant, giving away up to $26,000 for every employee that you have that qualifies. And you say, this is wonderful. What do I have to do to qualify? There's two ways. I don't call it the easy way and the complicated way. The easy way is, and that's what we look at first too,
of course,
is did your gross revenue go down by a certain percentage? If the answer is yes, you're in. But what if the answer is no? A lot of firms, a lot of CPAs are saying, nope, that's it, too bad, no ERC for you. Wrong. Look at the IRS website. It lists two different methods and it says either or. The other way, the formal name is called full or partial closure, but it's a facts and circumstances test. For example, in California, there was a statewide mandate from the beginning of the pandemic until 6/15/21 that if you had a business inside, you could only use 25% of your business, even if it was an essential business. The example I always give is Safeway. I can't think of anything more essential than groceries,
Right.
but Safeway could only use their store 25%. That's an example. Or supply chain problems. A lot of people had those. And there's a lot of other ways too. We'll actually take the time to sit down with you and see if you qualify. Of course, not everybody qualifies. If you don't qualify, we'll tell you why. But if you do qualify, let's go ahead and get your government grant. And one of the things I would say is if you're watching this, listening to this, and you say, but some other firm told me I don't qualify because my gross revenue wasn't down enough, call us for a second opinion. Let's go over this second test. Remember, it's called full or partial closure, which, like in my Safeway example, if you can only use your store 25% for business, you were 75% closed.
Mhm.
Let's see if you qualify. And if you do, let's get every penny to which you're legally entitled.
Thank you, Steve Moskowitz. Give him a call, 888 tax deal or moskowitzllp.com. We'll talk again soon, Steve. Thank you
Always
so
a
much.
pleasure. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you. Yeah. So again, Steve Moskowitz, our exclusive sponsor of this show. Okay. So we're going to take a look at news. But again, my question to you for you to think about and comment on right now is it wise? And, we can leave political party out of this. Is it wise for a candidate not to debate simply because they don't think it's either going to be a real debate, which, by the way, they never are. It's not as if it's a real debate, but that the other person isn't going to play fair, is going to play dirty. Should you still step up and debate, or should you say, nope, not going to do it? What do you think would be the best move for the candidate? Specifically, let's look at Arizona between Hobbs and Kari Lake. But right now, I do have some news, and let's give you a little bit of music, Kim McAllister.
Oh, look at you.
Right here.
Oh, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Russia's foreign minister says it is not important for Moscow to maintain a diplomatic presence in the West. Sergei Lavrov insisting it makes no sense, saying Russia doesn't have the desire to be in Western countries in the same way it had in the past. Diplomatic relationships have become increasingly strained by sanctions over the war in Ukraine. The mother of George Floyd's daughter is suing the rapper formerly known as Kanye West, now just known as Ye, I think, for $250 million in damages. Roxy Washington claiming harassment over false statements that West made about his murder, the murder of George Floyd in 2020 in Minneapolis. West recently claimed Floyd died from abusing fentanyl, not from having his neck stepped on by police.
I can't believe this story, by the way, Kim.
Yeah.
I just want to interrupt you real quickly. Like Kanye West, yay, whatever the hell you want to call him.
Right.
He's off his rocker. And I have no qualm saying that. I don't know. And I know that he's been open with his mental health issues, but talk about someone who just keeps stepping in it and stepping in it. The anti-Semitic comments, right? The White Lives Matter t-shirt. Do you think that this is attention seeking, or do you think he's having like a mental health breakdown? I mean, saying
All
this
of the
about George
above.
Floyd, why?
Yeah.
Where is this even coming from? Even
All
if
of
he
the
does
above.
believe it, why
And
are
what's
you
interesting
saying it?
about this particular case is the lawyers are saying you can't, it's not a defamation suit because you can't officially defame the dead, which I think is interesting.
Oh, that
But
is interesting.
you can sue for damages for making false statements. So that's what
Mhm.
this will be. And I think they've got a really good case because even the coroner said it was a lack of oxygen, not drug abuse, that
Exactly.
affected George Floyd's ultimate death. So I think Ye is going to have to pay up or shut up.
Yay to nope. That's what it should be.
Yay to nay. That's right.
Yay to nay. Much better. There you go.
New Jersey is filing a lawsuit against 5 major gas and oil companies that it is accusing of lying about climate change. The lawsuit filed in state court naming ExxonMobil, Shell Oil, Chevron, BP, ConocoPhillips, and their trade group American Petroleum Institute. Attorney General Matthew Platkin for New Jersey saying for decades, the defendants concealed and denied their knowledge of overconsuming fossil fuels, leading to rising sea levels, flooding, and extreme weather. So the question is, can they be held accountable for what they've done to the planet then? A new study finding more than 1.3 million diabetic adults have skipped, delayed, or rationed insulin because of the rising cost of the medication. The study published Monday in the journal Annals of Internal Medicine found about 16% of adults with diabetes didn't take full doses because of the price of that medicine. Middle-class adults seem to be the most affected, not wealthy enough to afford all the insulin they need, but unable to qualify for Medicaid too. And scientists now have new details in connection between using certain hair strengthening products like chemical relaxers or pressing products and an increased risk of cancer in women. A story in CNN today, really worth reading, shows ongoing research previously suggested that hair straightening chemicals are associated with an increased risk of certain hormone-related cancers like breast or ovarian cancers. But now this new study, Nikki, links use of hair straightening products with an increased risk of uterine cancer too. You can find more details in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute. The study was published on Monday. Well, Halloween.
Hold on. So what was the product again?
It's well, they don't list the exact products, but they say it's hair straightening products. So it's
like keratin or like anything that makes your hair smooth.
Certain hair strengthening products. So some of them have other different chemicals than other ones, and they didn't list the brand names of which ones are linked. That's why it's important to go back and read the study because they'll pinpoint exactly which chemicals maybe increase the risk of uterine cancer. But it's important because I think a lot of people just go straighten their hair, go press their hair, do whatever they need to do, and then not realizing that they may be increasing their risk. And the story in CNN today says this affects African American women more often than not because the hair straightening products that are the ones most used by people of color. And so, I have big concerns about whether or not that they could be hurting themselves by doing something that seems to be such a normal thing to go out and do.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all know this. I remember with the nail salons and the fumes and kind of the legislation that came down there because these people were working hour after hour breathing in these fumes. I'm sure the same thing can be said with this. Even if somebody calls it natural or organic hair straightener, what are the chemicals doing when you heat it up? Because alone in the bottle it might be okay, but then when you add heat, it could be giving off odor, or it could be seeping into the skin. That's very interesting and should give people pause. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that, you may be opening up this risk that you had no idea about. I had no idea until I read the story today.
Yeah.
I don't use those products, but I know a lot of people who do. And so I'm going to be passing that around for sure.
Absolutely.
Of course, we're all buying the Halloween costumes, right? Halloween less than 2 weeks away. The trick, though, not to spend too much on treats. I don't know if you've noticed the price of candy. Wow, it's amazing. So it's the cost of treats, costumes, and decorations. The financial website Investopedia estimates Americans will be spending about $10.6 billion totally on Halloween candy, costumes, and decorations this year. Breaks down to about $100 per person for one of the biggest retail spending events of the year. I believe that.
Well, I want to talk about this again next hour because I want to talk about costumes. What are better, homemade or store-bought? Because some people like the ease of store-bought. And so I want to ask people that. But I was reading, speaking of candy, I was reading this article, and we'll talk about it again next hour, of how you should not be the house that gives out full-size candy bars.
We all know the houses that do. We all know the ones to go to.
They're saying no.
The big Snickers. Yep.
Yeah, this one article is like, nope, you shouldn't do it. So I'll explain why they think you should not. And are you the house that does it? Because my husband is all full-size candy bars, and I am definitely snack size, candy size, like little mini candy size. These kids are coming with like pounds of candy. You don't need to add full size. But again, we'll talk about
No,
that next
but
hour.
you are the most popular house. And even when
I
it's
don't
not
care.
Halloween, people will
Yeah.
always pass the house and go, they're the full-size candy
Yeah,
house.
that's true.
All
That's
year
true.
long, they know it's you. The
That's
news
awesome.
sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. So valuable. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL. You can get him on the web as well, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
There we go. There we go. I did want to thank everybody for tuning in again to my show. It's the second day. We are kind of getting all the bugs worked out. I'm working with all the music and handling it myself, but I really do appreciate all the messages and everything like that. I do want to ask you to just take a moment right now and click the thumbs up on our YouTube show, and do it every single show. What does Mark say? Smash the like button. So if you guys can do that, it really, really helps our show gain traction, and YouTube messes with it and brings it up as an option for people to watch. And if you want to keep seeing our shows, then that's something you could do for absolutely $0. But if you have a couple of bucks in your pocket, and you want to help support this show financially, we are always looking for donations. We do have a Patreon up. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. You can also find the link on my show's website, thenikkimedoroshow.com, the Nikki Medoro Show, all one word, .com. And the links to the shows and the Patreon are all right there. Okay. So let's go back to what we were talking about before the break. And that, of course, was debating. Now, if you're just joining us, Kari Lake is running for governor of Arizona, and she wants to debate Hobbs, who's the governor. And Hobbs is like, no, I'm not going to do it. It's going to devolve into absolute nonsense. And so my question is, on one hand, it reminds me of the Trump-Biden debate. God, I should have pulled the sound. Remember, I think it was Jake Tapper was like, I was basically an S show wrapped in nonsense, wrapped in something or other. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was so funny. It was so perfect. And on one hand, we knew it was going to be that. We knew any debate that Trump was in was going to be nonsense. But he did it. And he did it once. And now Republicans are saying they don't want to debate at all anymore and blah, blah, blah. But in this moment, do you think that Hobbs should debate Lake? Or do you think, no, she should say no? Now, Kim, I feel like you were kind of leaning on the side of, no, she should not debate.
So I imagine the debate and how it would work. You've got one person reasonable, standing there, willing to debate the issues, and you've got the other person going off the deep end, unwilling to answer any questions, but just say what they want to say over and over again. You saw it on the CNN interview over and over again, where they'll say, nope, I will only accept the result that
Right.
No. And so what does it become then? Does it just become, a circus, a three-ring circus? And voters, either way, whether the debate is held or not, are not going to get any value from it or any information that they need to make their decision. It would almost be easier to have separate town halls with each of them, so that each can make their point, but they're not put together where one candidate is just going to be obnoxious about everything.
I hear what you're saying, but is there a way? So this is my problem. You're saying that Kari Lake is just going to be saying the same thing over and over again, and it's not going to go anywhere. I know it seems childish, but couldn't Katie Hobbs do the exact same thing? Couldn't she just, every time Kari Lake said something, just be like, that is a lie? She is not answering the question. Like, isn't there a way to prepare for the debate that doesn't make you seem like you're running from your opponent?
I mean, it could be that maybe she just stands there and says nothing and lets Lake make a complete ass of herself, right? I mean, maybe that's the way to handle it.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like when you refuse to debate, now Kari Lake has a great position of being able to say, look, she's a chicken. She's, what did she say? She's ending like decades of tradition by not having this gubernatorial debate. And on one hand, she's right. Right? I mean, is this the first time an opponent has wanted to take, the microphone and spew nonsense during a debate when they know everyone is watching? Of course not.
No, it's
So
not.
shouldn't Hobbs kind of step up and put on her big girl pants and be like, and be prepared? I guess that's my thing. Isn't there a way for Katie Hobbs to be prepared so that she can fight back and push back against Kari Lake? Because if not, I mean, it doesn't seem that she's ready for the fight.
I'll go with you on that, and also say that it's nice to be able to show how one deals with the crazies, right? So that you're able to deal with the crazies, and we get up on stage with them, and here's the tactic for how we handle the nutbags.
Right.
Like the lady standing next to me, not that you would say that, but to see how her, I guess it'd be like observing a daycare center,
Yeah.
to see how the preschool teacher handles chaos and mayhem, right? So in that case, you get a better sense of who she is and whether she's up to the task of handling the nut jobs that she'll come across, even in her, job as that she'd be elected to do.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
makes
All right. Let's read some of the comments coming in. And again, you can always join the conversation right now until we figure out a way to get calls or hire a call screener or something by just going into the live chat and leaving the comments there, and we could read some of them. Lillian wrote in, just like Trump, Lake has a huge advantage because people think they know her because she was a TV newscaster. Hobbs needs to step up and challenge Lake's nutty anti-democratic positions. Oh yeah, Kari Lake, that's right. Because she was, right? She was a journalist on television. And so she knows how to work that camera. She looks good. I mean, she has great look. She's very pleasing to the eye, as they say. Not knocking Hobbs, but I'm just saying she knows how to work the TV camera angles. And so does that give her an edge? People trust her. Maybe she's been in their homes on their television and they're like, oh, I loved her on blah, blah, blah. And so
Right.
all of a sudden she has that leg up and now she's on camera saying, look, this woman who wants to lead our great state won't even hop on the debate stage to debate me. What is that all about?
We got a great text from Diane Cotton. She writes, she needs to do the debate. We need to learn how to fight these nutcases. That's why they're taking over, because we won't fight.
Yes, I love that. Exactly. We have to fight and we need to figure out how to, so that it doesn't become a yelling match, because then nobody's listening. But I feel like, and again, I don't know what it must be like to have to stand on a debate stage, especially in a race that so many people, even outside the state, are watching, and try to figure out the best way to respond that doesn't make you look like a loony bird, right? So that's why I just feel like every time Lake starts either not answering the question, which is exactly what she did with Dana Bash. Dana Bash is like, why do you keep promoting election fraud when everybody closest to Trump, next to Trump, has said, no, there was no evidence? And she pivots. Right? She pivoted to the lack of ballots in an Arizona election. Now, that's not the question. That's not the question at all. And she's saying, oh, they haven't trusted elections since what? 2000, she said. Okay. What happened in 2000? But Democrats, Al Gore, even though he fought, George W. Bush was president. So it's not as if we've ever experienced what we're experiencing right now. And I think that any concerns that people really have about our elections can be addressed. And to put an even finer point on it, if there was evidence, like Kari Lake says there was, why? And this is what I wish Dana Bash would have just said. Then why could it not be proven in court?
We have a couple other texts coming in, good ones, from Live the Santa Cruz Life with Michelle Replogle. She says she wasn't a journalist, she's a TV personality. That's
Okay.
an important distinction to make. And then Natalie Alejandro writes, we need moderators that will actually cut the mic of people that go over time, interrupt, or talk about things not related to the question. Better classroom control is the answer. Absolutely, Natalie.
Or like an air horn. Right? Like, that's not the question. Nope, not the question. Right? It's just, or like a big red light. Like, you're not answering the question yet. What is the question? Or remember in school when they would teach you how to like write and complete sentences? And so you had to, the reason why I don't think that Trump's allies found any evidence was that would just ensure that you would answer the actual question that I am asking you. But they're trained and they're so good at it, Kim. And I don't know what the hell is up with the Democratic Party that we have literal truth on our side, and we still can't get it through to so many Americans. It boggles my mind.
Tony is chatting. I don't know what y'all mean by fight. Democrats, he says, are saying things out there about crazy Republican candidates, but the media just doesn't want to give that time because it doesn't get the clicks. I don't know if that's the case. I mean,
I don't know.
We've been talking about it, but maybe on a grander scale, you're correct.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I feel like we promote it. You know what I think it also might be? And I'm just going to bring this up because he mentioned the media. And so when I instantly think of the media is not covering it, I think of things like MSNBC or CNN, right? And I think that once it's on those 24-hour news channels like CNN and MSNBC, they're written off for bias. Even though Fox and OWN and Newsmax, they never seem to be written off for that, right? By the people that watch them. It's only CNN or MSNBC that's biased. So if they do a story calling out Democrats who are calling out Republicans, it gets lost in the shuffle, I would say. And does it surprise anybody? I mean, does it surprise you that Hershel Walker lied or allegedly lied about paying for that abortion?
I'm not surprised.
This other story, this perfect example. Oh God, I wanted to bring this up with Chip too, but we ran out of time. Remember that Trump supporter whose home caught on fire, and he said that it was because they had a Trump flag. Do you remember this story? It was in Minnesota.
No.
Okay, so he's a Trump supporter, and he had like a Trump flag and things like that. And his home, like part of his home, they survived, was set on fire. And so he's telling all the news outlets that it was these left-wing, anti-Trumper people. Well, you find out the investigation was he lit his own house on fire.
Oh.
He set up a GoFundMe, collected all kinds of money from these people, and was lying. And where is the GOP on that? Why? If this was a Democrat, this would be top news on Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity. Yeah. Look at these lying libs setting their own houses on fire. Why are we? I mean, it's on what is this, NBC? I mean, it's on there, but it's not resonating. I don't know. I don't get it.
An interesting counterpoint to Tony's point about, not getting clicks, that Democrats are saying things, but it just doesn't matter. Comes a text from RL who said, what about Newsom's ads against DeSantis as an example? Newsom running ads in Texas and Florida, that became big news, got a lot of clicks. So yeah, that's something we don't think about.
Well, and again, at the top of the hour, we played you that ad that Congressman Eric Swalwell's put out, highlighting what could be our reality if, we're criminalizing women controlling their own reproductive freedom, right? Arresting women at their home for having an abortion, arresting doctors. That Eric Swalwell ad was frightening, but I think effective. I want to see more of that. It's not as if I want to get into the mud, but if that's where the game is, right? If that's where I can win, if that's where I can get through to Americans, if that's what they're responding to, let's do it, but do it in a way in which, we're not lying like Hershel Walker is lying. Like other people like, oh yeah, I know that he paid for abortions. I'm sure former President Trump paid for abortions. I'm sure they're actually, they don't even care, but as long as we get the Senate seats, as long as we control Congress, who cares if the people that we elect are hypocrites? And I think Democrats just don't have that in them for some reason. And it's disappointing. I don't want hypocrites running this country, even though they are. Yeah. But I just wish there was a way to play the game where we weren't hypocrites, but we were able to get in the mud and truly, truly fight.
Frances is helping us out. She's chatting. Not only can you click the like button here on YouTube, she says you can also slap that subscription button. She wants us to have people subscribe. So I appreciate that.
Subscribe.
Very much. Also, thanks, Frances.
You can also hit the bell. There's a bell next to the subscribe button, and that notifies you. If you have your notifications on your phone for the YouTube app, you can hit the bell, and then you'll be notified every single time the
Oh, I
show is
just
about
did
to
that.
air.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
so you could do that, and that's these are easy, free ways for you to support the show.
Yeah.
I know not everybody has the ability. We were just talking about inflation. Everybody is watching their pennies, even if it's $1, $5, $10, whatever you can give to our Patreon will help us grow the show. It's just me and it's just Kim. We're putting this all on our own, and we're figuring it out, and we do have support behind the scenes, but you know,
I
I'd
think you're
love to
doing
get a
great.
producer. I'd
Yeah.
love a producer. I'd love a call screener, especially love to figure out the calls. All of that takes money. And
Yeah.
so if you could donate to our Patreon, every little bit truly, truly helps. And again, you can get all the details on my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. It's a great way to find the links to the show. And again, like our listener just said, hit that like and subscribe. It really, really helps. It absolutely helps. Okay. I do want to let you know, speaking of, being the 2-woman show over here, we have a couple great interviews set up for tomorrow. Today, actually, it might actually still be underway. The Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors is figuring out how and where money should go to help those in Puerto Rico that have been affected by the hurricane. And so we will have someone from the Puerto Rican Civic Club on with us right at the top of the show tomorrow to talk about where that money is going and how you can help with relief efforts. Because God, right? How much has happened since that earthquake? And remember, they had an earthquake just not too many years ago that they were still trying to recover from. So we'll have that at the top of the hour at 12 o'clock. We're going to also talk about something that I know Kim McAllister has strong feelings about.
Oh no, here we go.
That's marijuana use during pregnancy.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
so
I do. I have
there
huge feelings about that. I can't even.
We're going to talk with Katie Woodruff. She's a public health social scientist who's actually researching marijuana use amongst pregnancy. Kaiser actually is also involved in a way in this because there's not a lot of research, or at least long-term research, on who may be using marijuana during pregnancy and what the impacts are. But so far, preliminarily, it does look like you shouldn't be touching the stuff when you're pregnant,
No.
although a lot of women do. They lose their appetite, they have the nausea, and they find that marijuana, slight marijuana use, tiny bit, can help them, but is any tiny amount okay? And
Well,
how does it compare to other over the counters, which is going to be my question and what I'm going to be looking for, because it's not as if pregnant women can't take medicine. And if you
No.
consider marijuana a form of medicine,
Well,
depending on the way you
what
take it,
happens
it can
is
matter.
you've got the dispensaries, you go into the stores and they say, "Oh, yeah, this is all safe. Everything's fine. Go ahead and
Right.
take it." And the truth is, no long-term studies have really been done on the effects
Exactly.
of marijuana on, a fetus. And
Yeah.
so what are you really doing to your kid? And now we've got increased rates of ADHD, increased rates of autism, learning disabilities, all kinds of stuff. And could it be linked? Do we know if it's linked? What are you really doing if you're token up while you're pregnant? I just, not for me. Thank you very much. And I think it's dangerous. And I think a lot of women are being told one thing and they don't really know what's going on. And so Kaiser has this great program where you go in and it's part of your prenatal care. They'll get you right in with a counselor, like a therapist, who will then talk to you about risks and what you're doing. And I
Yeah.
think it's hugely valuable for, making sure that women are aware of any associated risks with substance abuse during pregnancy. Things that we don't
Absolutely.
think of, the consequences, the long-term consequences, we just don't know.
So I'll be speaking with Katie Woodruff at the 12:30 after the news tomorrow, and just kind of where her research is leading her and what she's been hearing from people. And then at 1 o'clock, I'll be speaking with the SF Gates Eric Ting. He's going to join us, and we'll talk about what it really means now that Governor Newsom's state of the emergency is ending. I have an appointment tomorrow to go get my COVID booster. So I'm really hoping I don't have an effect like I did from my last one, not my booster, but my second shot. So I want to talk about what that really means. Eric Ting has been following it. So that's going to come up at 1:00 tomorrow. So we have a big show. We're trying to get more and more guests on the Nikki Medoro Show. So stay with us. But right now, we do need to have some news update with the one and the only Kim McAllister. Take it away, Kim.
I got the music again. I got to unclick my mute button and get it all going over
We're
here.
figuring it out. It's good. It's good. Go ahead.
And we were talking about the CEO of one of the nation's largest investment banks warning that a recession is likely coming. It's Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon making the remark while speaking to CNBC. He says businesses need to be very cautious now about their tolerance for risk. And of course, Governor Gavin Newsom setting a date now to end the COVID-19 state of emergency. He says the end date will be on February 28th of 2023. That will be 3 years since it was declared. The governor's office saying that this has been scheduled at this time because they're preparing for possible surges during the late fall and the winter. So by February 28th, that should all be wrapping up and our COVID emergency will be over. COVID won't be, the emergency will be. Vice President Harris making the next move in her California trip, heading to San Francisco today to talk about the climate crisis. And then she'll be attending a Democratic finance event. The former state senator, now vice president, flew into Los Angeles yesterday to talk about protecting reproductive rights in the wake of Roe v. Wade being overturned. It's an interesting topic, Nikki, talking about relationships and politics. The study was done showing close to 1 in 5 registered voters say politics have hurt their relationships with friends and family. This study done by Siena College and the New York Times shows independents and Democrats were more likely to say that disagreements have affected relationships. 21% and 20% say that they have. Independents 20%, Democrats independents 21%, Democrats 20%. Majorities across all demographics, though, say their relationships were unaffected. The most affected, women and white voters with college degrees, reported hurt relationships more often.
You know,
So-
I mean, my relationships with people have changed. I wouldn't say I don't have a relationship with every single person that's politically different than me. I just know who I can have conversations with and who I cannot have conversations with about certain issues. And I think that in this moment in history, the thing that's the most difficult, and tell me if you find this, if you have relationships like this, is it seems like we're living through so much history right now. And some people you want to talk about and not debate, but just kind of have a civil conversation about it. I feel like we can't because people are so divided and feel so like the other side is wrong that you can't even have real deep conversations with the people that are closest to you because they are so politically different.
Yeah, it's a problem in my family too. So it's interesting who's affected by that. All right, and here's the last story of this newscast: Mackenzie Scott donating a record-breaking $84.5 million to the Girl Scouts. Scott, previously married to Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, the donation, the largest ever single donation in the Girl Scout organization's history. Bloomberg estimates Scott's net worth to be north of $27 billion. That would make her the 41st richest person in the world. Of course, she's given it all away. Her donation going to the Girl Scouts of the USA and 29 local councils selected by Scott herself.
Nice. All right. Thank you, Kim McAllister. That's awesome. You know, I love her because she definitely is putting her money where her mouth is. Like my ex-husband might be wanting to go into outer space, but me, I'm going to help a ton of people.
I'm supporting the Girl Scouts. And this news sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. So if you need help with your taxes, please give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can catch him on the internet, MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
All right. So I didn't clear this with you. I was just going to hit the sound of it. Okay. But I wanted to ask you because I was like, should I have asked? Because, it's her kid. So I have Jacob's song.
Oh, do it. Yeah.
All right.
Bring it
So
on.
everybody that's listening, Kim McAllister's son, Jacob, sweetest kid ever. Now I don't think I could show it, but you're going to hear him sing.
I sent you video. You don't have video?
I know, but I have it. I have it looped up. I don't know if it's going to
Okay.
show.
All
We're
right.
just flying by the seat of our pants. It's here. We'll see if it
Okay.
actually happens. But here is Jacob singing a self-written song just about our show.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.
I love it. He's awesome. I just wanted to give him a little shout
That's his
out right
theme
there.
song. He thinks that should be our theme song.
There you go. Well, I wanted to play it at the top, there we go.
Flowers behind you, so maybe you do sprout like a beautiful blossom.
Oh, I do, don't
Yeah.
I? That's my little I just threw those up there. It's so funny. But yeah, so thank you again. I'm seeing in the chat that people are saying that the Patreon link at the bottom of this show isn't working. We'll fix that post show. Again, you can go to thenikkimedoroshow.com. That link, that Patreon link completely works. So just go to that. You can get all the links to the YouTube shows, the Patreon. I'll be fixing everything in the description post show. But I appreciate everybody that can donate and throw a couple of bucks our way to support us. It helps so much. You have no idea, because love is free. YouTube is free. Putting on a show is not. Okay. Speaking of money, I don't know if you did this in your show or in your news yet. I apologize. But the student loan forgiveness application is all up and running. Has anyone out there, and I put this on Twitter, and I was asking people, has anyone tried to apply for the student loan forgiveness or are planning to? Apparently, it's extremely easy. I mean, it is, I think buying a movie ticket online has more steps than was. I'm not even kidding.
But I think, though, there's a lot of restrictions. They put even more restrictions on who is eligible. So it might be easy to apply, but whether you can actually get that money, I don't know.
Right. So you'll have to find out. So in August, most federal student loan borrowers will be eligible for some forgiveness up to $10,000 if they did not receive a Pell Grant, which is what's available to low-income undergrads, up to $20,000 if they did. And I believe this is the latest. Yeah, this is the latest information, because I know you're right. It's been changing. Let's see, a quarter or more than 10 million people were in delinquency or default, and the rest had applied for temporary relief for struggling borrowers during the COVID. This obviously led to comparisons to the mortgage crisis, the Great Recession. How many of you out there have applied? How many of you are thinking about it, but are like, we're talking about politics, and I don't know if I should. I said I'd pay the loan. But now that it's being offered, does the rubber meet the road when it comes to how you feel about something like this? Because I am sure there are people that have student loan debt that are politically opposite of the president and don't think that this program should be in place. I'd love to hear from people making that decision.
We got a text from Liz. Liz says, my kids applied. They said it was easy.
Yeah. Joe Blow, the student loan forgiveness thing will be thrown out by a judge right after the election, and then they'll blame it on the evil Republicans. Well, yeah.
Tony says,
obviously
applied.
Democrats
It was
want
super
it to
easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem to be very simple. You fill out your name, social security number. I think you have to show how much money you made, perhaps something like that.
Mhm.
And then after you apply, you'll get an email confirmation from the education department. They're going to confirm your eligibility. You might have to send in more information, including proof of income. And when your request for relief is approved, you'll get an email saying so. You just have to make sure they have your contact information. I'm sure they're trying to make this as easy as possible. And you want to know why I also think, just to kind of go with Joe Blow's comment, because once you have a lot of people expecting the money, what politician, I don't care what political party you're on, wants to look at those people and say, taking it back. We're not going to do it anymore. I think that once they have so many people signed up for it, it's going to be too hard to take back. No? Okay. My loan was paid off
Sorry.
years ago. No, it's okay. My
There are
loan
tech
was,
things going on in here.
but I'm very much in favor of the loan forgiveness. They need to make changes to curb the price gouging in the future. Thank you, Eric Kennedy. The government should not be forgiving loans and still giving out loans.
Yeah.
No more. You should not be able to do that anymore. Let's see. When we get the final numbers, I bet we'll mostly see Republicans benefited from this too. That coming from RL. That's interesting. It's this whole argument that people also make in red states, right? It's like, oh, why don't you pull yourself up from your bootstraps? You live in a state in which your bootstraps are gone and people in blue states like us are helping you make ends meet. I wish there was just some honesty in the whole damn thing. I really do. And we're helping people. And in turn, hopefully it's going to pay out on the back end. But did you see this new survey, Kim? Speaking of student loan forgiveness and the type of debt that people bring on, the California college dropout rate is higher than the national average. This, according to a study from Education Data, shows nationally almost 33% of undergrads drop out of college before completing their degree program. California residents, 46.5% more likely to drop out of college.
Wow. See, once you start
huge.
forking out that money, it's like, I'm not going to lose that. I'm going to finish it because I don't want to, lose
Right.
all the money I've already paid. Might as well, you're in it to win it. You might as well just finish.
But so many, when we talk about student loan forgiveness, when we talk about, the colleges you're going to, what degree you're getting, I was listening to one woman and she said it straight up. She's like, I never planned on paying it back. I just planned on it just bill. Like kind of like your lights, right? It's not like you ever own your lights. You just pay it every month. And that's kind of her attitude towards the whole thing. Is I'm just going to have this bill for the rest of my life. It'll never go away. And that's it.
Yeah. I think sometimes you look at the bill and the interest and it's absolutely insurmountable. And there is 0% chance that by the time you croak, that's going to be paid off. And so you just live with it. And it becomes just like, the bill to keep the lights on and the bill to keep the water flowing. It's the student loan bill that never dies. And that's just how people have to look at it. And I think that's why God, I don't want my kids to be saddled with that.
I
So
know.
like we are here at this house. So I want to make sure that I'm trying to save for them and do everything that I can. I know people will say, well, I worked during college and, I took out loans and I managed to pay
Everything's
it back.
more expensive now, though.
It's so good for people that manage to do it that way. But if you can give your kids a head start, there's this tricky kind of line between not paying for every single thing because knowing that what they're doing is valuable so they don't take it for granted versus not letting them get off to a life that is, started with a big debt that they're carrying around their neck.
Yeah. Becky writes in the live chat, how old is that data? I'm curious if numbers have improved since college for free at community college was implemented by Governor Newsom. Excellent question. I'm going to just bring up I think this is the most recent data, but let me double check because that's a good point. When we're talking about community college and free community college here in California, it's not K through 12, right? It's K through 14. So that's really interesting. Let me see if I can find the date on this. And this again is education data. And they were looking at the dropout rates. I'm assuming that this is the most recent data that they have. Oh yeah, June 17th, 2022. So, but here's another interesting statistic when we're looking at the dropout rates. Again, in California, 46.5% of undergrads are more likely to drop out compared to the national average of about 33%. But people in California were also more than 33% more likely to be college students. So, that also matters. Older students are more likely than younger ones to drop out. That makes sense. As you get older, that's what my dad pounded it and my mom pounded into my head when, you graduate high school, you want to take some time off, you're done with school. Let me just take a gap year. And then that gap year turns into gap years. And then all of a sudden you have more responsibilities maybe you get married.
Life
Maybe you have a
happens.
kid. Yeah, and life
You
is
know?
not any easier. It never gets easier as you get
No.
older until, of course, you can hopefully it gets easier when you can retire. But that totally makes sense.
And then at some point, you're so old that you're like, does it even make sense to go back and do it, right?
Always makes sense. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Was she 90? This 90-year-old woman got her honorary GED because she
Oh, I
just
love
wanted to
it.
check that box. It matters. It matters to people. I really, really do think that getting that diploma, depending, do you want to have lifelong debt for it? I think not. I'm definitely encouraging my children to go to community college. Is anyone there not? Like, that's another question. If California, and you live here, is offering you 2 years of free community college,
Mhm.
who is saying no to that and why?
I think a lot of people will say no. A lot of kids
Why?
they wanna go have that 4-year college experience. They wanna go live in the dorms. They wanna meet friends. They wanna have the social scene, and somehow real college is considered better than community college. So, if you go to UC Davis, Cal,
Right?
San Francisco State for your first 2 years of college, that somehow that it's considered like you got a better education than if you did the
Mm.
exact same, general education, which
Exactly.
is
It's
the
just
same
GE.
requirements at the community college level. It is the same, but people will think it's different, but the experience is different. You're not going to have 4 years of, making friends, living in the dorms, frat parties, all that kind of stuff, because a community college experience is a different experience.
It is, but I'll say this, you have friends and they'll invite you to their college parties. It's not as if so I did 1 year at Chico State, and then I went to West Valley Community College, and then I went to San Jose State. And when people ask me, "What college did you graduate from?" I say San Jose State University.
Yeah.
No one needs to know the path that got me there. And I did 2.5 years at San Jose State, and it was a great experience. And I would even say, besides Chico, that traditional college experience, it ended there in my first year. Why? Because I did go to community college, which again, Kim's right. It's not the same. And then San Jose State, although I love the college and it may be different now, so many years after, it's a commuter college, right? I mean, you live, you work in the area. I know they have
Right.
dorm rooms. Maybe it's changed. So forgive me. I haven't been on the campus in quite a while. But the Chico State experience, hands down, was completely different
So here's
than
the
what I
question.
experienced.
Is Chico versus community college. So you
Uh-huh.
go 1 year at Chico, then you go back
Yes.
to community college.
Yes.
And I know the experience is different as far as social,
Right.
but is the education different? Were your classes at Chico State somehow different or better than the general ed classes that you went back and took at community college?
So my father's going to kill me because I always say this whenever we talk about it. I would have a better answer if I actually went to class. That was why I left.
Did you flame out at Chico because it was the party school and you were like, "Woo!"
I mean, I didn't flunk out. Okay, I could have kept going. I'm just going to maintain this for the
Hey,
record,
you
Dad.
wouldn't be the first at Chico State to have that happen.
I went, just I wasn't getting enough done to continue. And I also didn't know what I wanted to do, and I figured it out when I went to Chico. And they looked at me and said, "If you want to go into broadcast journalism, San Jose State University has an amazing journalism department," which they do.
Right.
And so I was like, well, maybe I really should get the hell out of here, because I wasn't applying myself, as they say, to the fullest extent. And so then, yeah, I moved back home. Did my GE at West Valley. And then when I was a junior, I went to San Jose State. Now, the San Jose State education, I can compare to obviously Chico State. And I had a great education at San Jose State, but I buckled down. I mean, I went to
Yeah.
summer school.
Mhm.
I was older. There is something to be said with doing these things when you're older and really have a goal in mind. Like, I wanted to be done with college and move on with my life. So
You got a lot of good text coming in. N Stars writes, most of the night classes that I took at San Jose Community College were
Uh-huh.
San Jose State University students trying to save money. So,
yes.
Yeah, and a
mean,
lot of people say they did go to junior college. Perry Joe Jim Bob says, I did 2 years at Barstow College, then 4 years at Chico State, lots of science lab classes at Chico. And Jorge writes, there are many paths to financial success, but if some people can't go to a community college or university, there are always trade schools or teach
yes.
yourself what you love to do. And just one more note regarding the chat line, a lot of people are talking about their kids and how they went to community college and then went off to a UC. And Stars again saying, I transferred to a UC after community college. Someone else saying their child went to UC Irvine after community college. And that's, I think, a really important point, because a lot of times you've got these kids who have decent grades. Maybe they're not, what is it? Used to be a 4.0 was perfect. Now you can't get into a UC unless you're like a 4.5 or whatever.
Right.
But I feel like sometimes you've got kids or students that would be completely successful at the UC level and they're denied entry because there's
Yeah.
not enough spaces. Whereas if you take those community college classes, get your AA degree, there are transfer agreements at the community college level
At some of them,
where
yeah.
if you have and it's a ridiculous GPA. It's like if you get a 2.6 or a 2.8,
Yeah.
something that's easily attainable, you're guaranteed admission to such and such UC. I know for Santa Rosa Junior College, they have a transfer agreement with UC Davis and UC Berkeley. And
Yeah.
different schools have different transfer agreements. It's a huge way to make yourself able to get into a UC that maybe you were denied entry to when you were a senior in high school.
Yeah. And that's important because again, ever since the Varsity Blues college admission scandal, I think it really had people rethinking what does it really mean to go to these colleges, especially when you know that some people are kind of cheating on their way into it. And then the financial cost of all of this. How much does it really pay off on the back end? And you can bring Harvard and Princeton and Stanford and all these big, Ivy League schools into it. But when we're just talking about, going to a college, getting a degree, getting a job that'll pay you enough to live where you are, I think that's the most important thing. And the thing that I keep and I will continue to pound into my kids' heads is figure out what you want to do to make you happy. That's hard. That's hard enough, right? Figuring out what you want to do, what you want to invest your time and education and knowledge into is a huge thing to decide, let alone adding on top of it, oh, and then I need to have, USC on my resume. Maybe not. Maybe you don't need all of that. Not if it's going to saddle you with a bunch of debt that's going to hamper any sort of future plans that you have down there. So I am full pro community college. Hey, you know me, I'm frugal. You give me something for free, I'm all about it. Absolutely. Let's read a couple more text messages that are coming in because I do want to switch gears just a bit. Eric Kennedy is saying people shouldn't look down on trade schools. I never look down on trade schools. And trade schools, I will say this, you can include under that umbrella nursing, right? Plumbing, electricity. That's what my husband went to the trade schools in, not college bound. My husband, military and then trades, which worked for him, works for so many people, and you can make a ton of money. I love this from RL. I just wanted to study, but they wanted a party. They locked me in my room one night, and I had to call security to get out. Yeah, party schools, man. I'm telling you. I knew what I was getting into when I went to Chico. And it's terrible to say because I know a lot of people that have graduated and got degrees and are very successful. I'm not knocking the university. It's simply the social aspect of the school lived up to its reputation. And next half hour, when we talk about Halloween, I will share you the hands down best Halloween story. I only I celebrated two, but the year that I went to Chico State, that Halloween, I had never seen anything like it, and I have a hilarious story. So I'll share that in the next half hour.
I want to throw out this text from Andrea, and she says, Nikki, you're scaring me. My daughter is a freshman at Chico, lives in Whitney Hall, but she does go to class. So you think, Andrea, think she goes to class. My
best friend that I went to school with, who will be part of my story that I'm going to tell, she lived in Whitney. I was in Craig Hall, which is the off-campus dorm. I kind of wish in hindsight that I was on campus. I probably would have gone to more classes if I was, but I loved Craig Hall and I had a great time. Sorry, mom and dad. It was one of those things where they'll
had
never
too
let me
great a
live it
time.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really bad. It was bad. Okay. I want to throw this in because we're talking about money and it's down in Southern California. Okay. Redondo Beach. Have you ever been to Redondo Beach?
Yeah, and
It's fun. It's
Manhattan
nice.
Beach, really
Yeah,
nice there, yeah.
it's really nice there. Okay. Well, they're kind of upset because the governor, as you know, wants to make sure that every city in the state of California is doing its part to build affordable housing. Okay. Which makes sense, right? I mean, not one place, not one city should carry the burden of having all affordable housing. There should be it in every place that you live. Now, I add this caveat. The reason I believe this, or at least let me say this, a reasonable distance from the city, right? Like, okay, so maybe not if you're, not Times Square or whatever, but, nearby so that the people that work in those areas don't have to commute hours upon hours in traffic to serve you. Because usually that's the job sector. And sometimes it's a bunch of different job sectors that you want in your city. They just don't get to live in your city. Okay. So they're having this whole interview and they're talking about a bunch of people down in Redondo Beach about where to build affordable housing. And one of the places obviously is near the ocean because that's where it is and that's where the city is. So I want to play you this clip. And this is my question for you. Is beachfront property, the living near the beach, only for the rich? If you have
Yes.
a view of the ocean, is it only for the rich? So here is one person that was being interviewed. Again, they're from Redondo Beach, talking about this kind of mentality about it all. Oh, here we go.
Put it inland. Couldn't you argue that people who can afford that kind of housing should also be able to have a water view?
Well, everybody, I would have loved when I was 20 years old to have a water view, but as many people around here have worked their way up to being able to afford something like that. So yes, everybody deserves a place to live. The question is, where do they deserve the place to live?
Okay, so what do you think about what that guy just said? Redondo Beach, it's next to the beach. Should anybody be allowed to live there? And the reason why I ask this question is it seems like an easy answer. Ocean views, you're going to pay more for that. You shouldn't build affordable housing. Okay. So what happens when all the ocean view housing is all filled up? Now all of a sudden it's like, well, if you want a view that doesn't include the highway, then you have to pay more. And if you want a view that, all of a sudden affordable housing, where does it go? Because the whole term of affordable housing doesn't really exist, I feel like.
Where did we ever get the idea that we're entitled to something? I don't understand it.
Oh, so you think that I'm mentioning it as an entitlement?
Well, I feel like, is beachfront property only for the rich? Well, if it's for the people who can afford to live there, right? I mean, if you can only afford a freeway view, then that's what you can afford. If you can if you can afford a beachfront view, the reason it costs so much is because everybody wants it. So it drove the price of that up. So now it's really expensive to live where there's a great view. I mean, I don't have a beachfront view, and that is my dream. I would love to live on a beach in Maui, but I can't because I can't afford that. And so you live within your means. Why is it that somehow you're entitled to something fabulous and great when you don't have the money to pay for it? Affordable housing should be exactly what it is. Affordable. Affordable because maybe you do look at the freeway instead of the beach, the beachfront
and all
view,
the health impacts that come with that, because you know that the closer you live to freeways. So now not only do I have to live near here because the rich areas don't want to build affordable housing, I have to take the health impacts of all of it. I mean, there's consequences.
I'm not saying you can't build affordable housing in a place that's not, and not environmentally healthy. You can build it further away. But I feel like a beachfront view, that's something to strive for. That's something to work toward. It's not something that you're automatically guaranteed in this life. Just because we're trying to build affordable housing to help people out doesn't mean you get the cream of the crop best thing. You can't, if you need, let's just take this weird analogy that I'm throwing out of my weird brain right now. If you need a bag to keep your stuff in, but you don't have any money to buy a bag, and someone hands you a really nice cloth bag that isn't designer, and you hand it back and say, that's not good enough. I'm going to need that Louis Vuitton you've got sitting over there in the corner. No, when you don't have a lot of money, you do the best you can with what you have. And if someone's offering you something at a reduced price, you take it and say, thank you very much. You don't take it and say, no, thanks. I'd really prefer the beach.
Okay, so now the reason why we're bringing this part up, and again, this is in Redondo Beach, is there is an owner of a former power plant that is close to the ocean that wants to develop it into, like, parks and all this other stuff, and have a percentage for low income housing. Are you okay with that? Because that would be affordable housing with a beach view. And a lot of people are pushing back on the entire project simply because it would house lower income people.
If the owner wants to do it, then the owner should do it, but I don't think anyone should be forced into it. I think that's a decision that the owner of the property should make. And if the owner
Well,
wants to develop it into affordable housing or bring people that may not have otherwise had a chance to live with a lovely view like that into the fold, then that's his business. It's not the NIMBYs down the street that don't want the poor people living next to them. That's his deal.
Well, I mean, again, when you have a new development and you're trying to develop something because of the order by Governor Newsom, you have to include some low income housing as part of it. And so that is kind of the rub here. And I think every area should have a spot for people to be able to afford it. If not, every place is going to become unaffordable. I mean, eventually the beach, like I mentioned, the beachfront views are going to get filled. And then all of a sudden, the non-freeway views are going to get filled. And then all of a sudden, this spot and that spot. And where do people live that's not going to bankrupt them? It's a debate we're going to constantly have because this place is so unaffordable. And there does not seem to be an easy answer because building is not just going to work. It takes way too long to build anything in this damn state. And the NIMBYism. It's just going to choke any sort of conversation before it can really happen. Okay, let's do a little bit of news. I have my music for our news czar, Kim McAllister.
On the Nikki Medoro Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. A senior Biden administration official is giving an update on prisoner swap talks with Russia. Speaking to CNN, the individual, who is not named, says Russia is talking about a possible prisoner swap involving Americans like Brittany Griner, but they aren't making really serious proposals. Griner and former Marine Paul Whelan are being detained in Russia, and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken confirming this summer is a substantial proposal that was put forward to get them home. Jurors here in Northern California may be ready to announce their decisions in the Kristen Smart murder trial. Paul and Ruben Flores are both on trial with separate juries deciding their fates. Paul Flores is accused of murdering Smart after a party in 1996 near Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. His father, Ruben, is accused of being an accessory to the crime for allegedly helping him hide the body. The jurors for the father, Ruben Flores, already reached their verdict, but it will not be revealed until the jury for Paul Flores is also ready. A verdict will be read this afternoon, just in about a half an hour. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for that, what it is. New details coming to light regarding the alleged Stockton serial killer. Court records show Wesley Brownlee has had past run-ins with the law. One instance coming when he was 14, where there were 3 people arrested on suspicion of sexually assaulting a girl the same age. When he was 16, his older brother Dale was shot and killed in a drug-related incident. That reportedly gave Brownlee psychological stress, and 6 months later, he was arrested on suspicion of selling drugs. There are other instances as well, but now at 43 years old, Brownlee is accused of a number of killings that took place between April of 2021 and late last month. A new report reveals that California has to do more to reduce incidents of domestic violence. The state auditor found weaknesses in the batterer intervention system, which essentially requires domestic violence offenders on probation to complete an intervention program. It found 50% of offenders they reviewed records for didn't even complete the program. It also found probation departments neglected to report more than 50% of probation violations, and that courts didn't hand down consequences for 90% of probation violators. The audit suggests that among probation departments they reviewed, none had sufficient frameworks for programs oversight or compliance, and statewide guidance oversight is a must in order for that to all work out. Last year's oil spill off the Southern California coast is leading to a big settlement. Pipeline operator Amplify Energy Corporation agreeing to a $50 million settlement with California. That money set to go to thousands of fishermen, tourism companies, and property owners who sued following last year's offshore oil spill near Huntington Beach. The news is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can get him on the web, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
All right, as my Matthew McConaughey may say all the time. All right, let's read a couple more text messages that are coming in regarding what we were talking about regarding Redondo Beach. So Redondo Beach, if you're just joining us, there is the owner of a piece of property, acres and acres and acres of land, and it was a power plant, and he has a whole big development plan for it, and part of it includes affordable housing. And some people are saying, no, you don't get to build affordable housing next to the beach. I want to live next to the beach and I can't afford it. Now, of course, to qualify for the affordable housing, you probably have to be at a certain income level. And so with that comes stereotypes, right? Like, oh, if they only make that much, then they must be this type of person or that type of person. Then there's a location of Redondo Beach, and I'm just going to say it. There'll be a bunch of people that are saying, oh, look at these immigrants coming in. Taking the housing next to the beach that I should be able to have. While I understand, Kim, what you're saying about entitlement, and I don't think that people are entitled necessarily to live anywhere, right? If you can't make ends meet someplace, if you can't figure it out, if you don't qualify for enough assistance or whatever, you don't get to play a tiny violin about it. At the same time, if you're rich and you have all the means in the world, and all of a sudden you look around, you're like, why aren't there enough servers in my favorite restaurant? Why can't I find anybody to do this, that, and that? Why are all the teachers gone?
Right.
If you're saying those things, maybe you should change your opinion of who needs affordable housing. And that's my point. I make it all the time. I have made this point all the time. Our community is made up of people that are invaluable actually, but come from different income levels. And it's not as if they want a handout or they feel they're entitled to something, but they're needed. We need these people to be part of our society. And I'm sure in Redondo Beach, they need these people. So why shouldn't there be at least a little place where maybe some of them can live?
We saw that kind of here in the Bay Area in Woodside as well, right? Where we saw that there's this new housing law that you had to build a certain number of kind of in-law units or duplexes.
Right.
And people there didn't want that. They want their glorious single family mansions, and they don't want anything sullying the view. They don't want to have, people of lesser means on their properties or whatever it is. And so, I feel like on one hand, people aren't entitled. On another hand, you don't be a jerk about it too. Right? I mean, come on.
That's a good way to live. Just don't be an asshat about the whole thing, right? I mean, we want these people. We need to do it. Okay, so in this last segment of the show, let's switch gears a little bit and have a little bit of fun. Halloween. It's coming up. 28, so let's say a little less than 2 weeks away.
Have your kids decided on costumes?
Yes. You want to know what they are?
Yes.
My son is the king of... He wants to always, I don't know if he's going to win it with this costume, but he likes to at least try. My daughter's not in that. She never wants to try. She's just like, I'm going to do stuff with my friends. I don't care about the parade. I just want to have fun. So my daughter's going to be, at least at this point, she's told me, she wants to be an alien.
Okay.
My son has decided that he wants to be butter.
Butter?
Like a butter stick.
Like butter, butter.
Yeah, it's butter, baby. Yeah, he wants to be. So we have to make him into a butter stick.
You got to buy that.
Well, no, I made him. So the one year that he won the Halloween contest, he looked at me. This is my history with my son with the Halloween costume. He looks at me and he says, "Mom, I know what I want to be for Halloween."
Okay.
Okay, what do you want to be? I want to be a haunted house. Okay.
Oh.
We still have it. Best costume ever. I love my husband because I have it in my mind. I know exactly how we are going to make this costume. I am going to come up with the idea.
You're the
and
collective
he
we.
is
Yes.
going to, and he did such a good job. I mean, we just got a box, we turned it into a house, and then we painted my son's face white like he was the ghost, right? In the house, and it came out, and we had, eyeballs and all kinds of stuff hanging. We still have it hanging in our garage. It was the best. He won the Halloween contest. But that was elementary school. And they didn't have them dress up during the school day. They had a festival on the weekend. Now he's in middle school and they actually have a parade, which means you have to go to class.
Okay.
So now I have to design a butter costume that's flexible enough for him to sit down in, or he's taking the damn thing off every 5 seconds. So I'm working my magic in my mind about the whole thing. I could buy it, but he wanted to say, my son's name is Dylan. I can't believe it's not Dylan. Now, would you get that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's like, no one's going to understand that. I'm like, everyone's going to understand.
Yeah. Everyone's going to understand.
People understand it. So what about your kids?
So my daughter, they're in middle school. They're too cool for school. So the girls all just wear onesies that are some type of animal.
Yes.
Right.
That's so easy.
Doing a onesie.
Okay.
And then my son is I think it's a chameleon or an axolotl.
Ooh, axolotls are really hot right now. Yeah.
The son is going to be, he's into light up costumes. So he's going to be an angel with wings that light up. These wings, I think, are meant for some type of ethnic dancing, but we found him on Amazon. So he's going to have light up wings and a light up crown of feathers and wear a black outfit. He's going to be an angel. Yeah.
So do they dress up for school?
They do. And there's a parade at school.
So the light ups are not going to work during the day, though.
No, it is. It's going to look really good.
Really? I'm excited
really bright
to
lights.
see it.
One thing, I spend money on Halloween costumes. I love that you're so creative. But when I was a kid, I was in ballet. And you could, for the recital, you could either be a sunflower or a pumpkin. So I picked the pumpkin. All right? It was a fall recital.
Okay.
Once I got that pumpkin costume, my mom made me be a pumpkin for Halloween the next 4 years. Right? I had to be over and over again this damn pumpkin. I mean, it was a miserable situation. So now, instead of like going the cheap route for Halloween, it's made me like that trauma of the pumpkin.
Yes.
And good problem to have, right? Has made me like, well, what do you want to be? So I always make sure there's something different, something new.
Right.
And I'm not creative like you. So I don't know if I could design butter. But
well, I mean, it's not too difficult. I mean, really, I just Googled it and I saw some other people's ideas. So anybody out there have great costumes that they want to share? Because I need to dress up. I want to dress up, but 1 year I was a witch. The makeup didn't work out very well. I'd love to be something gory. I don't have the makeup skills to do it. I see things all the time and I'm like, I don't know if I can really do that. But I don't know what I'm going to be.
I got some great text I have to read. That RJ Dunn says, as a chef, I 100% approve of his costume choice. Aaron writes, salted or unsalted? And
Salty, of course. Come on.
JR says, sounds like his costume needs to be clarified a bit.
Yeah, my son's going to be butter.
Murphy says, the moms are doing the onesie too. I already got mine. I'm a sloth.
I wanted my daughter and her friends to be Care Bears because I felt like if any friend wanted to join, they just had to come up with their belly design, right?
Yeah.
So if the traditional ones are all taken, be the pizza Care Bear or something else, right? Sure. So, but no, I got vetoed on that. Who out there gives out full-size candy bars at Halloween? So apparently, according to MSN, you're not supposed to do that anymore. They're saying full-size candy bars. The reason why you don't want to do it is you're taking the fun out of Halloween by trying to be the home that one-ups the other houses. Do you think that that's why people do it? I think it's just, You want to be the cool, I guess. I'm not one-upping, but you want to be the cool house. I'm going to be the cool house. Not that I love it. I mean, I would love it if I went to a house and they gave out hot tamales, which are my candy of choice, but nobody ever does that at Halloween. All the dots are mine. I confiscate all the dots. So that's my candy.
The secretary at my kid's school lives a little far out, right? Not necessarily it's not in the main neighborhood. You got to, head over there. You have to make it a point to go there.
Okay.
And I think because of that, she gives out full-size candy bars and all the kids know it. So they all say, we have to go to her house. We have to go to her house. Everyone's pushing it. So I think maybe if your house is challenging to get to, or maybe, you want to make a point that you want all the kids from the school to go there, it makes sense to offer that as an incentive.
I like that. I mean, because my in-laws, they live in a great neighborhood that really does go all out. Although there was a house that would always create a haunted house, those homes that just go all out. And they stopped doing it a few years ago. But I mean, the main strip in my in-laws neighborhood, tons of kids. But my in-laws are like an offshoot of the main drag. And so no one turns. And so they end up having all of this candy that they haven't given out because nobody comes. So I bet if the rumor was going around that they were the house where you can get, or money. You ever go to the house that gives you money instead of candy? Now that's a house.
That's what we give out pennies when you run out of candy, right?
Pennies gets your house egged in toilet paper. You do not give out pennies at Halloween. Come on.
I have to read this text because Karen D has written this twice. So she writes, we give out hot popcorn. Kids love it. They buy the little bags at the dollar store and fill it with homemade popcorn. Karen, you're going to hate when I say this. That's the first thing that ends up in the trash at my house.
There is no homemade goods going into my child's mouth.
Some homemade thing is out because I don't know who it came from. And unless I know you, it's out.
Right. If I go to Kim's house and she's like, I made all these candy apples, I'll take a candy apple from Kim McAllister. I wouldn't just I wouldn't expect my kid to dump out their candy bag and see a bag of popcorn and be like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's where the razor blades are, right? No. And Karen, listen, if I knew it was you, right? Karen D from the Nikki Medoro Show chat room, I'd be like, all right, I'll take the popcorn. But if it's some random, I don't know.
No rando food. Right. Now, did you hear what's happening at this Pennsylvania school district? It has canceled its annual Halloween parade at the elementary schools. They've been holding these parades for more than 50 years. So they sent out letters to all 6 of the elementary schools last week saying the parades will not happen this year. Now, can you guess why they have been canceled, Kim?
Is it COVID?
Not
or
COVID.
school shootings, masks?
Well, a little bit on the shooting part. They say you never know who will end up on campus. So they're saying, we don't know who may come since the parades are outside. We can't control or screen who comes to them. Okay, but for more than 50 years, this hasn't been a problem. So maybe it has to do with the school shooting. But then get this other reason.
God, I never even thought of that.
Well,
never even thought of that.
I mean,
what a joyful moment those school parades are. And now you just kind of socked me in the stomach with that one.
I'm sorry. Well, they didn't say school shooting specifically. They just said, we don't know. We can't control who comes on campus. But I bet it is what you're thinking. But they also said, and this again, they've been doing this for more than 50 years. The district said safety is, but also not everyone celebrates Halloween. And those kids have to sit in the library in the past during the parades. So one person said, we looked at all that and we said, are the parades really that important to the students? And the answer we came up with is not really. I disagree. I totally disagree. I was disappointed when my kids' elementary school didn't do like the school parade. They did it on the weekend, so you still got to see all the kids walk around because I love that part. But I remember, waking up early when Halloween was on a school day and you'd be in your costume all day in the classroom. And it was a fun day. Nothing was getting done, right? I mean, it was Halloween activities and it was a fun day. And then you saw everybody being dressed up and some people went all out. And then I don't know. I didn't really think too much. And maybe that's me being not sensitive or insensitive about the whole thing of those that didn't celebrate. And so weren't dressed up. I never really thought of it that way, but
So because maybe God, and I hate that because I feel bad for the kids, but because there may be, 3, 4 Jehovah's Witnesses that don't
right.
celebrate any other holidays except for the only thing they celebrate in life is the Lord, right? So that means Christmas is out, birthdays are out, Halloween is out, even the Pledge of
Wow.
Allegiance, all that's out. They can't really celebrate or give some type of higher meaning to anything
Right,
other
worship
than God.
to anything,
Right.
yeah.
So because of that, everyone else is supposed to suffer? I'm sorry. If your family
Ooh.
believes that, then your family believes that, and I can't help that. But just because there's a very small number of folks that have that belief, you don't tank Halloween for everybody else.
Ooh,
I
okay,
don't.
so who agrees with Kim McAllister? I mean, do you think that we should start caring about, everyone being included? If it was you or your kid that didn't celebrate it, should it just be like, well, that's your personal choice. Sucks to be you. Because there's a lot of things. If you're not, Christian, if you don't celebrate Christmas, if you don't celebrate all of these major holidays as they are celebrated in the United States and have felt that emotion, I would imagine you like this decision because it's like, you know what? You do the parade on your own time. Do it at night. The Halloween trick or treating, that's one thing. But now I have to be surrounded by it in school.
Part of and I mean, I know there's adult Halloween parties and people have a good time with that. You see people at the bars all dressed up.
Oh yeah.
But really, Halloween to me is a kid's holiday.
Is
And
it?
it's for kids. And part of the fun memories I have as a kid are those moments at school, going to school and seeing what everyone at school, dressed up as, and doing the classroom party and doing the parade, all those fun things that, make Halloween stand out through the years. And you want to take it away. Boo to you. No.
Boo. I agree with you on one aspect of it. I don't fully agree that Halloween is just a kid's holiday. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. I mean, it is, but for
I
me, it is. That's
love
how I
holiday.
view it. Yeah.
I wanted to say that Halloween's coming back to the Castro. Apparently for the first time on the Sunday before Halloween, they're hosting a family-friendly daytime Halloween event to complement the neighborhood's normal festivities. There'll be costume parties, trick-or-treating, photo opportunities for the kids, and that's going to happen in the Castro the Sunday before Halloween. I like family-friendly events. Usually they're during the day, but the night is for everybody, in my opinion. Like, I love Halloween. I don't go all out every year. I'm not saying that, but I promised I'd share this story in the last couple of minutes we have on the show.
Okay.
So I shared that I went to Chico State for only 1 year. And I did not know this. Now, I knew it was a kind of a party school. Anyone out there been to Halloween at Chico? Because it used to be epic. I don't know if it is anymore. And I apologize to the parent whose kids at Chico. I don't know if it's the same way now. Okay.
It is at Santa Barbara and Goleta, and
Is it
also
crazy?
at Cal Poly. Yeah. Oh, it's nuts. Yeah.
It is. I have never seen anything like it. So I dressed up as Cleopatra. I had the coolest wig. It was black. It had the straight black. I mean, I carried it off pretty well. But the parties and the crowds were everywhere. But the funniest story that I will always share, we went to this one party. It was like a frat house or something. And before we left the dorms, I looked at my really good friend. We went to high school together. We went to Chico together. She was the maid of honor in my wedding. I look at her and I tell her, I had like a scrubby, like a hoodie to go with me because it was kind of cold. It's October. Just wear and carry with me in case I got cold.
Mhm.
But she brought, I think it was like a suede jacket with her. She has great taste, great style. They say, do not take this jacket. She's like, it's fine. It's fine. I'll take it with me. I'll carry it. It'll be fine. I'm like, you should bring something that you don't mind losing because you don't know what's going to go out there. Like
Right.
there are a mass amount of people. It was so crowded. I mean, you could walk into any house. It was mobs of people on the street, everyone dressed to the nines. It was insane. So we go to this party and everyone's drinking and having a great time. And so we kind of put our jackets in a dark corner just to kind of be like, all right, well, if hopefully nobody takes it. Right. And it'll just sit there. And so we go to the party and we're dancing around. Then it's time to leave. And I'm not kidding you. I am not exaggerating when I say this. So maybe 10 feet So we're like 10 feet. We're walking towards this dark corner where our jackets are to grab them to go to the next party. And I mean, we're 10 feet away when this girl just darts right in front of us, cops a squat, pulls her pants down, and starts peeing in the corner
Oh
where our
no.
jackets are. Now, I
Oh
don't care. I'm not going to be picking up that sweatshirt.
no, it's
But
over.
my friend is like, I am not leaving my nice ass jacket there. And she carried, I mean, it wasn't completely soaked, but there was pee on it.
I don't want it back. Like, I never want to see it again.
God.
Ew.
That story, every time, if I just mention Chico State Halloween to her, she just gives me this look. Like, I told you not to bring that jacket. But Halloween can be absolutely nuts. I hope more schools don't cancel the daytime fun for the kids because the nights is when all mayhem can go. But I hope it's good and safe and all those sorts of things. And yeah, check your Halloween bags because apparently the razor blades and the free drugs apparently are still it's still a threat that is out there for our kids.
Do you ever wonder if that's even really a thing? I mean, who's going to give away free drugs, right?
I have never in the history of ever gotten free drugs ever in Halloween bags.
Don't drugs cost a lot? I just wonder why you would give them away like candy.
Even if you want to go dark and twisted, it's like, I want to, drug somebody to get them. I mean, if it's in a Halloween bag, they're taking it and they're walking away. So it's not as if you're going to follow them someplace to take advantage of them. So I never. Has anybody in the live chat received free drugs in their Halloween candy bag?
No.
I never have. I do check my kids' bags, but now you have to tell them, like, don't start eating the candy until you get home and check it. You don't know what's in that bag.
Gotta look at it.
You gotta look at it. All
There's
right.
popcorn. No, thank you.
Sorry, Karen. We do love you.
We do.
Okay,
we really
so
do.
before we go, again, I have a big show tomorrow. We're actually going to have a number of guests. I'm obviously trying to bring on more guests. A reminder that tomorrow at the top of the hour, we are going to update with a member or the leader of the Puerto Rican Civic Club, how much help is needed for those that were impacted by the hurricane in Puerto Rico. The Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors today is deciding how this money that's supposed to go to relief efforts will be split up, what organizations will get it. So I'll be speaking with someone from the Puerto Rican Civic Club right at the top of the hour at noon. After the bottom of the hour at 12:30, Katie Woodruff, she's over at UCSF. She's a public health social scientist. And we will talk about, is any, even a small amount of marijuana use good during pregnancy?
No.
And it really raises this question. We know how Kim feels, but it raises this question of medication during pregnancy. You hear it sometimes. Oh, did you take, I'm just going to pull this out of the air, ibuprofen when you were pregnant? That's why your kid has ADHD or whatever. I mean, when you're pregnant, you're mindful of everything that goes into your body. And so is marijuana that much different than any other type of medication, or is the research still out? So we'll discuss that. And then at 1:00, Eric Ting with SF Gate will talk about what it really means for California, and more specifically, what it means for our local public health officials when the state of emergency, the COVID state of emergency ends. So Eric Ting will join us at 1:00. Also, if you want to reach me, there's a very, very simple way of doing it. Just go to the Nikki Medoro Show.com, the Nikki Medoro Show.com. You'll see a link to not only all of our YouTube shows, but also to our Patreon. And we really, really appreciate any sort of help that you can give us. I'm overwhelmed, but this show is going to cost more and more money. I'd like to be able to survive doing the show. I'd like Kim to survive doing the show. So if you can go there. Also, right now, for anyone listening, please smash that thumbs up, that like button, like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, because that helps elevate our show on YouTube's algorithm. And it really helps us get everything in line and hopefully draw more eyeballs to the show. More eyeballs, more money, more shows for all of you. So
we can keep doing this fun stuff, because I really wasn't ready for it to go away.
No, neither was I. And we're trying to figure out calls. Again, that's also going to require a call screener. I'd love to hire a producer as well. So that all takes money. So these are the areas in which your money is going to go. If you go to our Patreon and you're like, what am I paying for? That's what you're paying for, is to grow this show into at least a semblance of what it used to be. And then finally, you'll see on the bottom there my email address. If there is any topic we've discussed, or you can think of a topic and you want to hear your voice on the radio, or I could actually bring you on, email me, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. The Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. You can send me story ideas, tips. You can also send me voice memos. You could hear your voice on the radio. We're going to be talking about ageism and trying to find a new job as you are older. We'll bring on I keep saying KGO. It's not KGO. Nikki Medoro Show listener on
you're the
our
network
show.
now, baby.
I
That's
know.
the way it is.
How did I say it? It's Studio X. It's such a habit. But anyways, we're going to bring viewers, listeners on this show as needed. And as you guys give me your information. And so that's just another way for all of us to connect. So I'm very excited about that. So again, the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, all of you. Remember, like, subscribe, and we will talk again tomorrow. I love you all, and goodbye.
Bye, Nikki Nick.
Bye. Have a good one.